Have you heard about the new Q coin? You haven't? Well, take a look at it right here. Q has captured the mood of America and given voice to a movement, and now you can be a real part of that movement. This very special coin has deep meaning engraved in every space, from the 17 references to the lightning bolt, which in a way is the key to another world. An app lets you join the hidden world of Q using the very same lightning bolt. It's called augmented reality, or AR, and this is the future of interaction. We don't know of any other coin out there that has this ability. If you follow Q, this coin is a no-brainer for you. Opening its box of secrets will be the most exciting thing you've done in a long time. The smartest people in the world have latched onto this, and it's time you did too. Now, with the collectible Q coin and the app that comes with it, you can join them. Go to greatawakeningcoin.com and use the code REDPILL78 to get $5 off when you buy 2 coins or more. So get the coin now that you've been waiting for at greatawakeningcoin.com and use the code REDPILL78 and save $5 off 2 coins. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Hope everyone's having a great day. Nice Sunday afternoon. Not too hot outside. Last weekend it was oppressive. It's been pretty mild this week. I'm going to be very, very grateful for that. That is certainly a blessing in my book. Well, we had a great weekend, you guys. Great live streams on both Friday and Saturday. Methods was on Saturday, and we had Blake with the MeQ project on Friday, as well as Space Shot and True Reporting. I love being able to hang out with my best friends on the weekend and produce these awesome shows to bring you guys this information. I seriously could not be more blessed and in a better situation as far as I'm concerned. So, glory to God on that one. Now, I wanted to start off today by going over a couple of posts. First of all, this was posted by Devin Nunes back in June of last year. He said, grab the popcorn, because he had retweeted his own tweet. Can anyone tell me who the DOJ lawyer is that speaks French via text in the IG report? This will save a lot of time in the hearings this week, so my colleagues won't have to ask this question. Well, and now we may remember that yesterday on the program, we went over Devin Nunes's tweet, which also had to do with corn. Corn ready for to be cut. A bit of an awkward way to say it right there. But what do you do before you make popcorn? Well, first you gotta cut it, and then you gotta shuck it. So perhaps this has something to do with it, because it was revealed by President Trump that he gave Attorney General Bill Barr the authority to release the declassified Spygate documents to Devin Nunes. President Trump told Sean Hannity this week that he has given Attorney General Bill Barr the authority to give declassified Spygate documents to Devin Nunes. Trump praised Bill Barr and said that he had given him all of the documents he needs to investigate the origins of Spygate. The president revealed that he also gave Barr the authority to release the declassified Spygate documents to whoever else needs them, including Representative Devin Nunes, the ranking member of the House Intelligence Committee. I've also given him, Barr, the authority to release it to whoever he wants, whether it's his people or, frankly, perhaps people like Devin Nunes, who is a star, Trump said, pointing out how badly Nunes has been attacked by the rabid Democrats for being a brave warrior fighting to get to the bottom of Spygate. So President Trump in late May announced that at the recommendation of Attorney General Bill Barr, he's directed the intel community to quickly and fully cooperate with Barr's investigation into surveillance activities. President Trump ordered the declassification of the intelligence related to the spying on his presidential campaign in 2016. Now, award-winning journalist John Solomon previously said that President Trump will start with the release of the Bucket 5 documents. That's the exculpatory statements that the FBI possessed about its targets before it went to the FISA court. Sarah Carter then added that Bucket 5 includes transcripts and tapes of Papadopoulos and Carter Page saying there was no way the Trump campaign was working with Russia. Barr and Durham are currently focusing on transcripts of recordings made by a government source who met with the Trump campaign foreign policy advisor George Papadopoulos. Durham is also taking a closer look at the start of the FBI probe. The FBI opened Crossfire Hurricane on July 31st, 2016. However, it's now pretty clear that the FBI began spying on Trump and his campaign much earlier. All right, so let's go ahead and take a look at this clip, which is President Trump talking about this very issue.
Mr. President, you have the power to literally released the FISA applications and the 302s and the Gang of Eight information, and you made a decision to hand it over to the Attorney General and let him decide, and I'm curious as to why.
Well, we have a very respected gentleman, a very high-quality person named William Barr, and I can tell you he's working so hard. And rather than just doing a total release, I gave him a total release. In other words, he's got everything. Anything he needs, he's got. He's the Attorney General of the United States. He's got a lot of very good people under him that I guess are involved, and I gave them a total release. So all of it's been released, and he has all of it. I've also given him authorization to release it to whoever he wants, whether it's his people or, frankly, perhaps people like Devin Nunes, who is a star. What he's done and the amount of suffering he's gone through, you know what they did with him, where they tried to drive him right out of politics, and probably worse than that. He's done an incredible job. And so many others. I mean, the job, they're warriors. I'll tell you, the good side of all of this is the level of intelligence and strength and goodness that we've had on the Republican Party. A lot of them. Not everybody, of course, but we've had tremendous and when I say we, I'm talking about the country. The country's had tremendous support from Meadows and Jordan and Devin Nunes, and so many of the names that you saw yesterday performed so well. I mean, they performed so well, and they worked so hard because they saw this was a scam. This was an illegal takeover, as you'd say in the business world. I mean, this was a coup attempt, in my opinion, and this is the United States, and we wouldn't stand for it, and I wouldn't stand for it. We have some very great people, but we also have some very bad people, and I think we caught them.
I believe, sir, that we have the premier law enforcement agency in the world, our FBI. We have the premier intelligence people in the world, but that's 99%. But the 1% at the top are the ones we're talking about abusing power.
All right. So what's important here is that President Trump gave all of the documents necessary to Bill Barr. Bill Barr is the one man in America who can actually do something about that 1%, those evil people at the top who arranged all of this and then, put it into motion. Now, Devin Nunes is important because it's being floated around that he may be President Trump's pick for new director of national intelligence. That would be the replacement for Dan Coats. So giving Devin Nunes the ability to see these documents would put him in a spectacular position once he finds himself to be heading up all of the intel agencies and overseeing them. So it looks to me like Devin Nunes is ready to make popcorn. He has been, and I think that it's very possible that he's had these documents for quite some time. And as long as he has been working, perhaps even over the last year, he's already had access to them, and he's already basically been in a position to know exactly what he needs to do and who he needs to look into. And it is extremely, extremely plausible that that has already been taking place over the last year. Like we were saying on the program last night, President Trump is a kind man, but he gives people the opportunity to hang themselves with the rope themselves. He does not want to have to see people put, into, a position where they have to be executed. He's going to give people the opportunity to come clean, to come forward, and to do the right thing. But unfortunately, we know that there are many people who have been involved in this whole sordid affair who are not interested in doing that at all. So we're going to go ahead and keep an eye on this, and I can't think of a better pick, to be quite honest with you, than Devin Nunes for DNI. Well, hold the press. No sooner do I speculate on who DNI is going to be, and as I'm recording and editing, looks like Axios has a scoop. It appears that John Ratcliffe is actually favored to replace Dan Coats as Director of National Intelligence. Now, nothing is set in stone yet, so it could be anybody at this point, but I would say that Nunes and Ratcliffe are both very, very strong candidates. Now, from Axios, it says President Trump is expected to nominate Representative John Ratcliffe to replace Dan Coats as Director of National Intelligence, according to 3 sources familiar with the president's deliberations. And behind the scenes, it says Trump was thrilled with Ratcliffe's admonishment of former special counsel Robert Mueller in last week's House Judiciary Committee hearing. The special counsel's job, nowhere does it say that you were to conclusively determine Donald Trump's innocence or that the special counsel report should determine whether or not to exonerate him, Ratcliffe said to Representative Mueller. And as we all know, Representative is a former prosecutor, so he really understands the law. Now, here it says, I agree with Chairman Nadler this morning when he said Donald Trump is not above the law, Ratcliffe added, but he damn sure should not be below the law, which is where Volume 2 of this report puts him. But while Ratcliffe's performance in the Mueller hearing helped his chances for the DNI appointment, it wasn't what put him on the president's radar. Advisors to Trump said that the president was already seriously considering Ratcliffe to replace Coats. Trump had previously shortlisted Ratcliffe to replace Jeff Sessions as Attorney General before he ultimately chose William Barr. The New York Times' Maggie Haberman was the first to report that Ratcliffe was in the mix to replace Coats as DNI, and Clown News Network reported that Ratcliffe was under consideration for an unspecified job in the administration. As with all of Trump's decisions, his advisors cautioned that the president could still change his mind at the last minute, but senior administration officials familiar with the president's deliberations say that Ratcliffe is the favorite. Now, we all know that Trump has been mulling replacing Coats since at least February, as Axios reported, but as we Anons knew well before because that was leaked in the board posts, and our favorite Anon had something to say about it. So I do think that it's a good pick. I think that Ratcliffe understands the law, and he would be a wonderful choice to oversee the intelligence community and get things back into tippy-top shape so that we can get the swamp cleaned up in the many, many dank, dark areas of Washington, D.C., and even further. Now, next, this is a tweet from KevBoat44, Methods hat tip, sent this on over to me. We were talking about this last night on the live stream because it was dropped in the middle of while we were streaming. And it says, was the corn ripe for harvesting? It is now, #QAnon. And then it gives the string that we were given in that post, except our friend KevBoat has added some X's in its place. And he says, someone received payment to a Swiss bank account and they can't touch it now. Q is showing they have the account number. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. Here is the original post right here. Someone in the cornfield, reminiscent of James Comey. And it says that right here, this is post 127, graphic is your key. The graphic is your key. Let's pause and say hello to the rogue intelligence agencies currently monitoring these threads. Was the money worth it? Titanic. Now, we see here the country code for Switzerland is CH. The IBAN check digits 93 validate the routing destination and account number combination in this IBAN. The BBAN is 00762011, etc., which contains the country-specific details of the account number. The bank identifier is 00762, and then this is the account number right here. So this is a format for a Swiss bank account number. Now, it says Keystone's Bank Communication System, BCS, provides the software to support Fedwire, CHIPS, SWIFT, DTC, NBES, and Telex. Business Identifier Codes, BICs, are called the SWIFT address. The SWIFT code is 8 or 11 characters made up of 4 letters, an institution code or bank code. 2 digits would be the country code, and then 2 letters are the country code, 2 digits are the location code. So this is from the international bank account number for Switzerland. That's the format used by that. So you can see here, DK is, looks like Germany, Deutsche Bank. Actually, these are all Deutsche Bank right here, DK. And that lets us know that this right here is this is an account number, and Q is pointing out that they actually have it. So they're only leaving in the country code right here, and then the location code. So it looks like someone definitely had some money deposited. This would have been their harvest, except now Q team is in control of this ball. Very good job, KevBoat. Awesome stuff, buddy. Now, who do you guys think it could be? Well, I did happen to notice, and my buddy Mr. W pointed out, that John Brennan was missing from the jail graphic that was shown yesterday. He was in there previously, but the last time it was posted before today, back in March, he was missing. Now, I don't know if that is just because our favorite Anon grabbed the wrong meme when they put it in there, or if they're telling us specifically something about JB right here. But we have a big exclusive from the Gateway Pundit. The former CIA director of the last failed administration apparently visited Europe in November of 2016 after the U.S. presidential election. Why was that? Maybe it was to deposit some money. Many believe that Obummer's former clown director, John Brennan, was the architect of the Trump-Russia collusion hoax. We've uncovered that Brennan visited European leaders shortly after the 2016 election. We have to ask why and for what purpose? Now, former U.S. Attorney, great guy, Joe diGenova, discussed his thoughts after the Mueller testimony in front of Congress last week. He confirmed much of what has already been posted, and at the end of his excellent interview, he said, "By the way, just remember, John Brennan was the tip of the spear. This was his conspiracy from day one. John Brennan, don't forget that name. He's at the end of this he's at the beginning of the entire conspiracy." Now, Joe diGenova's interview leads nicely into breaking information we've gathered regarding Brennan's actions under that former administration. Former clown agent Sabrina D'Souza knows Brennan's actions well. As we reported a couple of weeks ago, former President Obummer and his clown director John Brennan ignored her pleas for help and left her to rot in an Italian prison. Now, lucky for her, Donald Trump was elected president, because after the election, her situation was alleviated by the Trump administration, for which she is eternally grateful. That is Sabrina right there. D'Souza believes that before the 2016 election, the former president's Clowns in America was significantly emboldened with Brennan taking over all national security issues, where he had enormous latitude to do whatever he wanted, knowing that Barry and then Clinton would have his back. In her efforts to exonerate herself from false charges in Italy, D'Souza claims that she was helped by U.S. Representative Devin Nunes, who she said also has some Portuguese ancestry. Nunes tried 3 times to intercede on her behalf while she was in Portugal, but this was all denied by Barry. Barry gave the impression that through his actions that he didn't care if U.S. intelligence employees were imprisoned for false crimes around the world or not. D'Souza says the former clown directors like Michael Hayden also refused to act on her behalf in the past. People like Brennan and Hayden were fine with having their employees rot in foreign jails rather than have their own crimes related to a case be brought out into the public spotlight. For the record, Michael Hayden smeared this website during an appearance on C-SPAN, and we have demanded he retract his smears. What D'Souza did share is that John Brennan made a trip to Europe in late November 2016, shortly after the presidential election. We know this because D'Souza found out that at the end of November 2016, Brennan was present in Portugal during the transition period before the 2016 election, and this resulted in a Portugal-Italy agreement to proceed with her immediate extradition from Portugal to prison in Italy. After President Trump was in power, he supported her and prevented her from going to jail in Italy. But the strange aspect from our discussion with D'Souza is that the Clowns in America director's overseas travel is always kept secret. However, her Portuguese lawyer was notified that Brennan had been in Lisbon in regards to her case. D'Souza states that later Portuguese officials speaking on condition of anonymity said my status was never discussed, a far worse signal to send that he, Brennan, was okay with whatever the Portuguese chose to do with his former employee. What struck me most at the time was that my lawyer was asking me with some trepidation if I thought Brennan would ever come back in power. This spoke volumes about how foreign intelligence services view being leveraged by the Clowns in America to act as surrogates, even reluctantly in targeting Americans. The questions that need to be raised here are, what was Brennan doing in Portugal, and who else did Brennan visit on his trip to Europe immediately after the 2016 election? D'Souza believes that her case is covered by state secrets law in Italy, and that this prevents information from her case being released to the public, information that she believes would exonerate her from the charges being placed against her in Italy. D'Souza also has a warning to Attorney General Bill Barr. This is the wall Attorney General Barr and the man he charged with getting to the bottom of the Russia collusion hoax, U.S. Attorney John Durham, will likely run into, particularly if it is determined that Barry and Biden and Renzi, Italy's former prime minister and Barry's close friend, knew. Italian Prime Minister Conte has the only office with authority to declassify her case. AG Barr will have to go to Conte if the actions taken by Italy's former Prime Minister Renzi on behalf of the Obummer administration are held in state secret status. Barr may have to do this to find out who Joseph Mifsud was working for when he attempted to set up George Papadopoulos in the UK. This may be the only way to find out if Renzi and Obummer worked behind the scenes to promote the Russia collusion hoax. Now, what did Brennan and Barry know, and when did they know it? Also, what was Brennan doing in Europe after his favorite candidate Hillary Clinton lost the election? Well, it is certainly time to find out. And we're going to go ahead and take a listen to this clip from Joe DeGenova and that interview that he was on. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
By the way, Mueller's testimony yesterday confirmed a lot of what Joe DeGenova has been telling us for a long time. So
by
Joe,
the way, just remember, John Brennan was the tip of the spear. Yeah. This is his conspiracy from day one. John Brennan. Don't forget that name. He's at the end of this entire, he's at the beginning of this entire conspiracy.
All right, we'll keep his name and your words in mind. Thank you, Joe.
Thank you, Joe.
So you heard it from Joe DeGenova. He always seems to have a bead on exactly what is happening. Very, very suspicious about John Brennan. I don't trust a single thing that John Brennan does, and I would not be surprised if it is John Brennan specifically that our favorite anon is referring to when speaking about that cash payment in that account that is now frozen. If Brennan was willing to do whatever he could to take down President Trump on behalf of the former administration, on behalf of Hillary Clinton, on behalf of their puppet masters in a global sense with this cabal, then he very, very easily could have went to Europe and secured himself this bank account with a payment for the services he was about to render. So now we're going to go ahead and take a look at one more story that has something to do with George Papadopoulos and some new information that's come out. Well, we have an amazing story right here, first of all, and it was released even after I had completed my video, but I had to include it. Basically, it is an embed of an article from the Washington Examiner, and it was dropped by our favorite Anon in Post 3529. It says, while Congress is away, the month of August is traditionally really a hot month. Nature is unpredictable. Well, let's go ahead and take a look at the article itself. And it says that Representative John Ratcliffe says that AG William Barr will deliver justice to any Obummer officials who committed crimes. A top Republican investigator said accountability is coming for any of those individuals who may have committed crimes during the Trump-Russia investigation. Within the Justice Department conducting a review of that operation, Representative John Ratcliffe said during a Fox News interview Sunday that he trusts Attorney General William Barr and the Justice Department Inspector General Michael Horowitz will be providing answers. And while Ratcliffe says he does not want to prematurely accuse any specific person of a crime, as Democrats have done with Trump, he stressed that it is clear crimes were committed by people during the Obummer administration, and that includes government officials. He said, I think first thing we need to do is to make sure we don't do what the Democrats have done, the Texas Republican told host Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures. They accuse Donald Trump of a crime, and then they try and reverse engineer a process to justify that accusation. So I'm not going to accuse any specific person of any specific crime. I just want there to be a fair process to get there. What I do know as a former federal prosecutor is that it does appear that there were crimes committed during the Obummer administration. Let's go ahead and take a listen to this clip from John Ratcliffe and see what he said.
Your reaction overall, I mean, Congressman, if there's one question that I've been asking this entire 2-year period, it's this. How is it possible that the Mueller report, the Mueller investigation is going to have any credibility at all if Robert Mueller does not look at the origins of the investigation, if he does not look at specifically why? Why am I looking at Trump being involved in Russia meddling? We know Russia has meddled for decades. Why is Trump part of this? So I ask you, your reaction to the fact that Mueller said he's not familiar with Fusion GPS. It's not in his purview. How can that fly?
Of course it can't. Trey Gowdy said it best this week. The person who learned the most about the Mueller report during Wednesday's hearings was Robert Mueller. And that's sad but true. And really what it meant is that the Mueller report and its conclusions weren't from Robert Mueller. They were written by what a lot of people believe was Hillary Clinton's de facto legal team, people that had supported her, even represented some of her aides. And so the Mueller report, it's really going to be difficult for the Democrats or anyone to rely upon the findings of a report when they just listen to the man whose name was on top of it not have a command of what was even in it.
So, I mean, the fact that you did have others writing the report and now we see that, do you think people understand that? Andrew Weissman was what, a Hillary Clinton donor? He was at her election party, right?
It's not just Andrew Weissman. Aaron Zebley represented Hillary Clinton's aide that set up the unsecure server and smashed her Blackberries with a hammer. There were all sorts of folks, again, that were close to the Clinton Foundation. And, so the bias that was involved there, I think, are fair things to talk about. And I think that's why that, in light of the disastrous testimony from Robert Mueller, the Democrats paid a heavy price for bringing a reluctant witness to testify. They overplayed their hand, and they did it in front of the American people on a national television audience, and it was just a train wreck of a week for the Democrats, and it was a great week for Donald Trump because of that. But to your point, Maria, now the things that Bob Mueller said he didn't know about and his team clearly didn't look at, those are things that would be fair for Bill Barr and the Department of Justice to look at, because we know that things happened in the Obama administration that haven't been answered. There's been no accountability for that yet.
That's what I want to talk about.
All right, so Ratcliffe, as we know, is a Texas Republican on the House Judiciary and Intelligence Committees who was very critical of Special Counsel Robert Mueller during his testimony. Absolutely took him to task. So, guys, it looks like we have absolutely nothing to worry about. Bill Barr, John Durham, Inspector General Horowitz, they are all going to take a look at the things that we have been begging for the government to take a look at. And I predict that this is all going to be wiped up and taken care of by the end of the year. So you guys, get your popcorn ready, shuck those cobs, and let's celebrate. All right, so the month of August is going to be a traditionally really hot month. Take a look here at Post 314. It's about the break. Be the autists we know you are. It's about the break. Godspeed, Patriots. August is going to be a recess month for Congress. And remember here from Post 2778, do you believe in coincidences? Kitchen is hot. Does that refer back to this post that we just saw? August is traditionally a hot month. Remember what we just heard with Representative John Ratcliffe and this post from Donald Trump here that William Barr is arriving at a Justice Department that desperately needs an infusion of credibility. And this post from January of 2018, all of these stringers showing hot. Are these potentially events that are going to be taking place, people that may be arrested? Remember that they are not going to be able to arrest sitting congressmen if they are in session, so it has to be during recess. As the world turns, happy hunting. Big hat tip to Methods for compiling all of these and sending them my way. Now, George Papadopoulos has revealed that the suspicious businessman who gave him the $10,000 payment is in fact a deep state Clowns in America asset who worked with the clowns for years. Former Trump campaign official George Papadopoulos joined Maria Bartiromo on Sunday Morning Futures this morning to discuss the Mueller testimony this past week. Now, during Mueller's testimony before Congress, Representative Nunes asked the former FBI chief if he knew anything about the $10,000 given to George Papadopoulos by an Israeli asset in the summer of 2017. The confused and obviously senile Robert Mueller said it was outside his purview to discuss the bribe to Papadopoulos. Well, that's very strange. On Sunday, George Papadopoulos told Maria Bartiromo that the man who gave him the $10,000 is, in fact, a clown asset. Now, I'm going to read this out loud, and then we're going to listen to George say it. He said, I was very happy to see Devin bring that up. A man named Charles Tawil gave me his money under very suspicious circumstances. A simple Google search about this individual will reveal he was a Clowns in America or State Department asset in South Africa during the 90s and the 2000s. I think around that time that Bob Mueller was the director of the FBI. So I have my theory about what that was all about. The money, I gave it to my attorney in Greece because I believed it was given to me under very suspicious circumstances. And after coming back to the United States, I had about 7 or 8 FBI agents rummaging through my luggage looking for the money. All right, so let's go ahead and take a listen to this segment with George Papadopoulos.
Arrested George Papadopoulos in July of 2017. He was given $10,000 in cash in Israel. Do you know who gave him that cash?
Again, it's outside our ambit, and questions that should go to the FBI or the department.
But it involved your investigation.
It involved persons involved in my investigation.
That was Robert Mueller dodging questions about a mysterious $10,000 cash payment that former Trump campaign aide George Papadopoulos said he received in July of 2017. He broke that news on this program a couple of months ago. George Papadopoulos is back with me right now. He's the author of the book Deep State Target, and that's exactly what he was. George, it's good to have you this morning. Thanks very much for joining us.
Thanks a lot for having me, Maria.
You just heard Devin Nunes questioning Mueller about that. Who gave you the money, George?
I was very happy to see that Devin Nunes brought that up. A man named Charles Tawil gave me this money under very suspicious circumstances, and a simple Google search about this individual will demonstrate that he was a CIA or State Department asset in South Africa during the 90s and the 2000s, I think around the time when Bob Mueller was actually the director of the FBI. So I have my theory of what that really was all about. The money, I gave it to my attorney in Greece because I felt it was given to me under very suspicious circumstances, and upon coming back to the United States, I had about 7 or 8 FBI agents rummaging through my luggage looking for money.
So in other words, you are given money in Israel, $10,000 in cash. You don't keep the money, you send it and you give it to your lawyers, and then you get on a flight to go home, to go back to Dulles or wherever you were going to Dulles. When you land, there are FBI agents arresting you, asking you, do you have any money?
Basically, that's exactly what happened, and what I think this whole setup was all about was trying to frame a FARA violation against me that I was under some sort of illicit surveillance for actually, I think, years leading up to and during my time on the Trump campaign. We probably don't have enough time to get into it right now, but I'm pretty sure what it's going to demonstrate and probably add context to why Bob Mueller was illustrating in his Mueller report that George Papadopoulos was being investigated for his ties to Israel. And then, of course, this $10,000, which I believe was a setup by the FBI likely, or even the special counsel's office, it was designed to make it look like I was actually some sort of foreign agent, which I never have been and I never will be. And that's quite frankly what I think that was all about.
Yeah, we have a timeline here on.
All right, so they were definitely trying to set up George Papadopoulos. Now, later in the interview, Papadopoulos told Maria that he was indicted by the deep state criminal apparatus for not remembering when he met CIA asset Joseph Mifsud a year before the Mueller team came to interview him. The entire Trump-Russia collusion investigation was obviously a deep state setup, and these criminals need to go to prison. Now, it begs the question, who is George Tawil? Let's go ahead and take a closer look at him. Now, here we have a little bit of a deeper dive from the Daily Caller, and the consultant, as he's called, who paid Papadopoulos that $10,000 denies even being a foreign agent. So he is an Israeli-American businessman, and he told federal investigators that he believed the businessman Charles Tawil was working with the foreign government. George had that to say. And Tawil paid Papadopoulos shortly before the ex-Trump aide was arrested for lying to the FBI. So he's apparently an energy consultant. He gave Papadopoulos $10,000 in cash during a meeting at an Israeli hotel, but he denies being a foreign agent. And this was revealed in a court filing that Robert Mueller submitted back last year. And that's when this article is from. But Papadopoulos told the investigators that it was $10,000 in cash. He received it from this foreign national, and he thought at the time that he was an intelligence agent. So he ended up giving the money to his own attorney in Greece. Of course, we remember that Papadopoulos faced time in prison. He was sentenced, I believe, to something like 18 days for lying to the FBI. And we've talked about George Tawil here on the program, but just for the sake of refreshing everyone's memories, I thought that it would be good if we talked about it a little bit more. It definitely sounds like a setup to me, and I would not trust this guy George Tawil as far as I could throw him. Now, in doing a little bit of research on George Tawil, I found that he was mentioned in the cable releases from WL, and you can see that right here on the screen. This says Zuma camp remains optimistic. It was classified confidential, and it has something to do with the South African connection that George was talking about. This is from 2006, December 14th, 2006, and it names Charles Tawil in here. And talks about protecting him and his role in everything that was taking place there. So it seems to me highly unlikely that the State Department would be mentioning an individual in a diplomatic cable, a confidential diplomatic cable, if that person was not some type of an asset and involved with State Department or clown affairs. So very, very interesting. I am going to leave this in the description of the video below along with the articles, and you guys can go ahead and take a look at it and tell me what you think. But as I said earlier, it is very suspicious that George Tawil gave this payment to George Papadopoulos, and then he was immediately questioned by the FBI to see if he had received any payments. All right, folks, well, I think that is all that I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. As always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the Corruption Detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.